Welcome back, it's me Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are featuring the G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow by Hasbro. For me, this is one of my most anticipated action figures in the line. This particular version of Storm Shadow was probably one of my favorite action figures as a kid, and it left such an impression on me that I really still remember the first day I got the original toy way back in, what was it, like 1983 or 84 or whatever it was. So I'm really stoked on having this, and we're going to check this out. First off, I like the graphic here on the lower right corner. I say this all the time. I kind of wish they used this like one artist and just gave us a uniform look across the board. Even though I do dig this a lot, it's still for me a little bit more on the extreme cartoony side, but it's a lot better than some of the ones we've gotten in the past. I like this illustration in particular. This one looks really cool. On the back, we have the updated graphic with expanded roster. It looks cool. And here's Storm Shadow's perks and abilities that can be deciphered on the website. And let's get started. Alright, so first impressions of Storm Shadow while he's still in the tray. He looks fantastic. I'm very excited that, much like the original toy, he comes with a lot of accessories. So it's really awesome. He has his hood. We have old school version 1 Storm Shadow. He has his compound bow, a loose arrow right here, and he has 2 Katana Blades, and this looks like this might be part of his belt. So let's get some of these accessories out. First off, we have this. It's kind of like a knot and a ribbon. If I had to guess, this is maybe part of his belt. I think. We'll find out. We have the quiver for his bow, and there's also the 2 sheaths attached. Now, one of my favorite features of the original toy from the 80s is that the original toy actually opened up. I'm not sure if this does that. It looks like it's split in half. There's a seam right there, but I don't think this opens up like the old school one. It might not, unfortunately. Which is forgivable, I guess. We have his 2 Katana Blades. They're of different lengths, as you can see right here. We have the shorter blade and then the longer one. Now, from my very, very limited understanding of Japanese swords, I forgot what the name of the shorter blade is, but generally the shorter blades, I want to say it's maybe 3/4 the length of the longest one, or even shorter. This blade here, it's a little long, but I think that's alright. But yeah, here's the blades, and as you can see, there's even, they have sculpted handles. It looks like it's I want to say a cobra head, I believe. But it's nice. I like the metallic sheen on the blades also. And let's get these stored onto the backpack as well. So here's the shorter sheath is on the bottom, and it slides in. It's a nice smooth fit. Here's the top, and it looks like they'll hold in place. They're not going to come out, which is nice. Next we have the loose arrow here. As you can see, there's a little bit of paint. It's red paint towards the end where the feathers are. And there's actually a slot here in the quiver right there, and you can insert the loose arrow like so, and it kind of blends in nicely. And as you can see, it's a nice snug fit as well. And next we have Storm Shadow's compound bow. I should have brought the previous figures. I don't know if this is a new mold or not, but there is paint on the handle right there. You can see some red paint. I'm pretty happy with this. Generally when I get weapons, sometimes they're kind of warped in the box, but this one seems like it's pretty true and straight. No worries there. We have Storm Shadow's hood. It's a separate piece. And lastly, we have the main man himself. We have Storm Shadow. Let's get him out, front and center. Awesome looking figure. Right, so I like the fact that they give you options with this guy. If you notice beneath his head, he has his hood rolled down. So if you wanted to, you could take his head off. If you don't like the look of the hood at all, you can remove this. And then you can snap his head back on. And then that gives us a much more true version to the original version 1 Storm Shadow. But if you want his hood, here's his hood. And the bottom of the hood, the slot is really small, so you have to remove the head. So you remove the head, place it over the small slot over the neck, like this. And then if you could, you navigate the head back on, like that. And then they'll give you the hooded look. But for my review, we're just going to take a look at it stock as it comes out of the box. So let's take this back out. If I could get it back out. Just give me a minute. This doesn't want to come out. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to put the roll down hood over his neck, and I'm just going to put the head back on. Alright, so yeah, this is Storm Shadow. Sculpt wise, the detailing is nice. I like the look on his face. He kind of had like a furrowed brow, so he kind of looks very focused. It's hard to see the detail in his eyes right now because of my lighting. Let's see if I can adjust that a little. There we go. Don't want to have it too bright. Now this version of Storm Shadow, this is based off his original look. It's much more simple compared to the first release. The first release, I believe, was based on one of the later versions, and that costume's a little bit more complex. Also, it's a lot more modern. My first impressions when I looked at this figure immediately was, sculpting-wise, it felt more like a Marvel Legends than a G.I. Joe Classified series. That's not necessarily a bad thing. With the Classified series, the figures are modern interpretations or re-envisionings of the classic characters. Whereas this one feels like it's really, really trying hard to pay homage to the original figure. So this costume, he's not going to have a whole lot of like micro texturing or any like fancy embellishments. This is really trying to stay true to the original figure, which I can appreciate. So you're getting a very basic uniform without a like crazy texture on it. You know, there is some texturing on the trim, like right here, and then there's nice subtle folds in the clothing, but it's not too excessive. Likewise, you know, with the bare arms, the musculature looks and feels very much like a Marvel Legends figure. As you can see, there are pinless elbows for it's a very clean look. His forearm guards, again, very subtle on the details. There's a nice texture on the bandages on the inside wrap, but when you get to the outside, you know, the armor plating, it's very just basic. He comes with 2 fingers. As you can see here, his left hand is a trigger finger, and then his other hand, this is for the bow. You know, he has the 2 exposed fingers. The straps and the belts are nice. There's a nice leather texture on his strap on his chest. He has the 2 throwing stars, which are not removable. I think they're just sculpted on. The Cobra emblem, it's all right. For me, it looks like some of the red gets a little too close to each other, so it almost bleeds together in the pattern. But it still looks really nice. I dig that. On the back, much like other figures, he has a socket in his back with a socket on the strap. And then with his belt, there's a little ball joint here, and that little piece that came in the box, the little knot, you just plug that in to complete the look. For me personally, I kind of wish this would be off to the side a little bit more than on the back. But that's just a minor quibble. It's, you know, since it's on a ball joint, it's allowed for some articulated movement. So if you want to make it look like it's like flowing in the wind, you could just easily rotate it. Or if you want, just put it down for a neutral position. Speaking of the belt, this is one of those things that I'm not sure how else they could have done it differently. But so generally with most action figures, the belt's always going to be a separate piece. You know, very rarely do we see the belt sculpted onto the pelvis area. In this case, the belt is a separate piece, but at the same time, it's the upper half of his uniform is sculpted underneath it. So it looks like the top of his uniform exceeds below the belt. That's why you have this. But at the same time, this thing kind of floats around. So depending on how you pose it, or if you're playing around with it, you know, the minute it rides up, it kind of breaks that illusion. And then you see the sculpted belt underneath here. And then this sculpted belt actually looks like it shares the same belt buckle as this one. So that's one of my minor quibbles, but then again, like I said, I don't know how you could have done this differently. As we go down, so unlike the upper half, there is a very fine micro texture on his pants that you can see right there. For me, I would have preferred it if they carried this either carry the texture on the top also, or, you know, just not have the texture. Oh, I stand corrected. I'm looking at this incorrectly. There is a very fine micro texture on his chest. For whatever reason, I just wasn't catching that on my lighting, because in some areas it's a little bit more pronounced, whereas on others it's almost non-existent. So I take it back. There is a very, very fine micro texture on the top, as you can see right there on the abdomen, but it's a little bit more pronounced on his legs than it is on his chest. All right, so I stand corrected. As I stated earlier, you know, there is actually a micro texture on the uniform. It's subtle and it looks nice. Speaking of the uniform, in terms of the color choice, unlike the previous like Ninja's Storm Shadow that we got recently, the movie version, that was a very off-white, whereas this looks very white. So if one of your complaints about the previous version of Storm Shadow, not the original release, but the movie one, because that was a great figure, but my big complaint with that was the shade of white they used on that one. That white almost kind of like teetered on like a weird yellow white, whereas this figure is this pure white, and I dig that a lot. Moving down to his lower legs, really impressive folds above his shins. Again, much like the elbows, they're pinless in design. And then the bandages, really nice texture, and it's actually a subtle shade of gray. So it's not too loud, you know, it kind of blends in well with the rest of the uniform. And then he has the split-toed ninja feet, as you can see right there. And there's some texture on the sole towards the toes. Articulation, his head rotates. It looks down. Not that... it's alright. It kind of moves back up. It looks up like so. There's a butterfly joint on the chest, as you can see there. So his arms can rotate. But with the addition of the butterfly joint, his arms can also... Alright, mine are kind of tight. Alright, so the butterfly joint allows his arm extra movement to move inward and then also outward or backward like this. My left one seems to be alright. My right one, on the other hand, it's stuck. So I don't want to force it. So yeah, this one, my right butterfly joint doesn't want to move at all. And I'm not sure if I'm going to try alleviating that or just leave it as it is. He has a cut mid-torso, so you get ab crunch about that far. Arch back. That's a lot. That's pretty neat. Waist swivel. His legs can kick up. They can kick... Do they kick out? Yeah, they kick out. Looks like he has full split movement. Back to his arms, because I forgot to talk about those. He has a cut above his bicep. This allows you to swivel. Double jointed elbows, as you can see right here. And standard wrist articulation. Likewise with his legs, you have the thigh cut towards the upper leg. The pinless knees, which I highlighted earlier. He has a boot cut, so you can swivel at the boot, and his legs are articulated at the ankles. He does not have any toe articulation, which is kind of somewhat disappointing considering he's a ninja, but I could live with that. Overall, it's a really solid figure. There's some disappointments for me just because with the original toy, I really like the accessories, and one of my favorite things was that the original toy, his backpack, actually split open. This one does not. So, but you know, I could easily forgive that. And let's get this plugged in, see how well it recreates that original look. Much like some of the other figures that have backpacks, you know, you plug it in and it gets kind of gappy towards the lower back, but that's all right. And then you could, I believe you could put the crossbow. There's a weird looking tab right there. And I want to say, I think this goes on like, I'm probably going to do this wrong, so if I had to guess, maybe it goes like this. I might be wrong on that though. So if you look at the bow right here, there's a little notch right there, and you can actually take the arrow and put it in, which is really cool. But I can't seem to find any sort of slot where this tabs into here. It might be this right there, which I kind of feel like an idiot if I'm missing that. Oh yeah, okay, there you go. So that completes the look. There's that little tiny gap right there, and you just slide that over the tab, and that gives you the complete storage. So for me, that's one of my favorite things with action figures. If you can store all the accessories onto the body, that's a big plus. You know, the only thing you can't necessarily store is the hood. So, you can either just take the rolled down hood off and put on the full hood, or if you want to recreate the original look altogether, just get rid of both hoods. But that completes the look for Storm Shadow right here. Excellent figure. For me, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say a low 9. If he had a little bit more articulation in the neck, and if my butterfly joint wasn't stuck. But I think that's a little bit more subjective, because you might get a figure that's perfectly fine. I would have liked an extra pair of hands also. I don't mind that he has these hands, but for me, it'd be nice if he had like closed fist or splayed out fingers. And maybe if he had actual like throwing star accessories. It's cool that he has them sculpted on the belt, but it'd be nice if they gave us 1 or 2 loose ones. But those are kind of small. I also have this book on hand, The Ultimate Guide to G.I. Joe, just so we could do a quick comparison to the original figure. And then here's the original Storm Shadow on our right. As you can see, there's some differences. The original Storm Shadow had his throwing knife, and he had a dagger underneath his belt. This one has short sleeves, whereas the Classified series doesn't have sleeves at all. And then the original figure had a pair of nunchucks. And if you look carefully, you can see what I was talking about. The original backpack split open, whereas the new one does not. And this one has a standard bow, whereas the new one has a much more modern compound bow. So yeah, if you're really fond of the original Storm Shadow figure from the 80s, and if the first Classified series release didn't do it for you, or the movie-inspired one, this is your ticket. This is the figure that you're going to want in your collection. So, this is a big win for like the hardcore old school G.I. Joe fans. It's nice that you're getting a version of Storm Shadow that's a little more, tried and true. Not that the first one was bad. I actually love the first one a lot. But if you wanted the old school all white like ninja Storm Shadow, this is it. This is the figure you've been waiting for. And I'm sure in time we're gonna get repaints of this. Probably get like the Red Ninja variants, and I'm looking forward to that if that happens in the near future. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.